What's up guys, my name is Ace, and it's that time of the year now that the next Call of Duty game has been announced and revealed, Black Ops 7, it's time for me to share my wish list for the next game. This is something I do pretty much every year on the channel, and it's something you guys have come to expect from me. And just like every year, these wish lists often end up focusing on what we're dealing with right now in Call of Duty. So a lot of my wish list is going to be relative to Black Ops 6 and the issues we're dealing with in Black Ops 6 and the things I like about Black Ops 6 that maybe I want to see refined. And that actually kind of makes sense this year since we're going straight from Black Ops 6 into Black Ops 7. Also keep in mind, this list is 100% focused on the multiplayer side of things since that's where my primary interest lies. So without further ado, let's dive right into it and talk about the two big elephants in the room that are probably not going to be going anywhere, but this is a wish list video, and if I didn't include it on this, it would feel very wrong. The first thing is actual ping-based matchmaking, where ping is actually treated as king, because as of right now, it absolutely doesn't feel that that's the case at all. I don't even care too much about SBMM as long as I'm getting the best possible ping, and that's just not happening. And I know those two things are very related, but that's absolutely the number one thing on my list. I'd love to see a whole lot more consistency with my connection experience. And the second big thing here that is not likely going to be changing is persistent lobbies, or lobbies that stick together after every single match. If you want to leave, you can leave. If you want to stay, you can stay and develop some friendships and rivalries. Get used to some players over multiple games, adapt your playstyle to those players over multiple games. And also, when you get a good connection, you can stay with that good connection game after game after game. I still think these are by far the two biggest issues in general with the Call of Duty franchise right now. It's leading to a ton of burnout long term. I still don't think we've reached that tipping point yet where they're actually going to make any adjustments to these areas, but it's not going to stop me from asking for them on my wish list. Now, getting into some more specific things, like I said, we're going to be referring back to Black Ops 6 a lot since that's what's fresh in our minds. And so let's start this off with a section of things that I would like to see return from Black Ops 6, and maybe in some of these cases, I'd like to see them return but refined a little bit. The first big thing is traditional prestige. I've absolutely loved this in Black Ops 6. It's been so refreshing to progress through that at your own pace. You don't have to sit there at max level for a season and wait for the next season before you can progress your character levels anymore. That's entirely separated from the seasonal system. If you like prestiging and you want to prestige, you can do that. If you don't, that's fine. You don't have to do that, and you're only going to be missing out on cosmetics if you don't prestige. I think it's a great system. The one little bit of refining that I would love to see with this, though, is when it comes to weapon blueprints. In Black Ops 6, if you buy a weapon blueprint or earn a weapon blueprint, it immediately permanently unlocks that gun for all of your prestiges, and I'd actually prefer if that wasn't the case. Now, I think it would work way better if you could use that blueprint with those specific attachments on that blueprint if you haven't permanently unlocked the gun or haven't reached the level to unlock the gun. But I don't think you should have the base gun permanently unlocked just by having a blueprint. I don't think you should have access to all of the attachments unless the gun itself is actually unlocked on top of the blueprint. Now, I do have my doubts that they'll go through with this. At the end of the day, I just hope they keep the traditional prestige system. That's much more important to me. Next, something that's really fresh in my mind right now is mercenary playlists. The mercenary mosh pit playlist in Black Ops 6 has given me the best experience that I've had so far in Black Ops 6 since the game launched. And I really don't want to see that go away, and I don't want to have to wait 4 seasons to see it again. So my big hope is they will have mercenary modes of some form, even if it's just one mercenary mosh pit playlist, in the game right from launch, or at least shortly after launch. Then another thing that I hope carries through from Black Ops 6 is the console-only crossplay option. I think this has been an excellent addition to the game. I'm very happy that it's finally there, and I don't want to see this go away. Similarly, the way they handle advanced stats in Black Ops 6 is very well done. I actually really like their advanced stats screen, and I'd be totally fine with them just literally carrying that exact system forward to the next game. And let's talk about Omni Movement a little bit. Omni Movement is heavily rumored to be returning to Black Ops 7. It's fully expected to be there, and I'm totally cool with that. I really like Omni Movement myself. However, in its current state in Black Ops 6, I don't think it's necessarily the healthiest for the player base in general, as I do think it becomes a little overwhelming for many of the casual players out there. And also, as much as I utilize it myself, I do think the sliding has gotten a little bit out of hand in Black Ops 6. And it really does feel like you're playing on a slip and slide or something. So with it almost definitely returning to Black Ops 7, I wouldn't be opposed at all if they just toned it back a little bit. In fact, I think the current state of Warzone Omni movements would be a good target to aim for, where it's dialed back just a little bit for multiplayer. You can still do some pretty crazy things with that Omni movement, but it's just not quite as crazy as it is in Black Ops 6 multiplayer right now. And on this topic, a big change that I would like to see from Black Ops 6 and many of the recent Call of Duty titles, and I've talked about this at great length in the past, so I don't want to get into it too much here. This is remove tac sprint as the default movement system. In my opinion, the game plays and feels so much better when using the slipstream perk in this game, which removes tac sprint but slightly boosts all your other movement speeds to compensate. And I truly believe that is the superior movement, and that's how it should be by default. Maybe have a perk to get tac sprint if that's something that you really want, but the default movement, in my opinion, shouldn't have tac sprint present. I think that would also make Omni movement a lot more approachable for the casual players out there. And with that, let's segue into the next section here. What else do I hope is different from Black Ops 6? What are the things I want to see them change or avoid entirely that Black Ops 6 has done? Well, the first big hope I've got here is an entirely different approach to map design. I want to see much more traditional Treyarch map design, because Black Ops 6 map design doesn't feel like Treyarch map design at all, at least any Treyarch map design that we've seen before Black Ops 6. And especially with Omni movement present, I also think in general, they've leaned a bit too far in the direction of small maps, especially for regular 6v6 maps. You've already got Face Off, and I assume Face Off will be returning, and I hope it does, for those that want that really small map, fast-paced, chaotic action. And as a result, I hope they don't lean quite as heavy into having so many small maps in the regular rotation. Now, that's not to say that I want to see them swing way too far in the other direction and have way too many really large maps where it takes you forever just to get into the fight or to find the fight, but I think there's a nice middle ground there, and I'd definitely love to see more like medium-sized maps that give a little bit of room to breathe while still being able to find action fairly quickly if you want it. And to be clear, it's not just the map sizes, it's also the general layout and structure of the maps. Many of the maps in Black Ops 6, they just don't have clearly defined lanes. There's too much crossover between lanes, and I'd like to see a little bit more structure and definition to that, so then the general map flow has a bit more logic to it. Now, the good news here, at least in my eyes, is apparently we are going to be seeing a lot, if not all, of the Black Ops 2 maps remastered for this game. And I personally think Black Ops 2 has some of the best maps in franchise history, so I'm totally on board with this, as long as we're also getting some new original maps on top of that. After that, let's talk about the perk system a little bit. Since this is my wish list, I would love to see a Pick 10 style perk system return. Perhaps a Pick 10 gunsmith hybrid system. I've talked about this a lot in the past. I think it could work quite well, where you get your 10 points to pick perks and equipment and weapons and attachments. But with Gunsmith being present, perhaps you should get like 3 attachments for free. So you just need to spend 1 of your Pick 10 tokens to get a primary weapon, and that primary weapon comes with 3 free attachment slots. Any additional attachments will end up costing you, just like perks and equipment will cost you. And with that, one of the reasons I want to see a Pick 10 style system is I'd love the ability to sacrifice having equipment on your class setup in order to get more perks or more attachments, for instance. Or maybe I want to sacrifice perks to get more attachments, or I want to sacrifice attachments to get more perks. In my eyes, the Pick 10 system opens up so many more options and ways to build loadouts. It helps alleviate equipment spam as well, which then allows them to make equipment more powerful, which I think can be more interesting for gameplay as well. And that's something I would really love to see. And then not only that, something that I feel Black Ops 6 hasn't done a great job with, I really hope they have good perk balance that makes sense, and I hope they're willing to reevaluate that over time and perhaps make adjustments. I don't think the perk system or balance in Black Ops 6 is like the worst we've ever seen in Call of Duty, but it does leave a lot to be desired. There are a lot of very clear balancing issues with those perks where certain perks just don't belong in certain tiers, or certain perks just don't make any sense at all, and could really use some big buffs just to make them even viable relative to the perks they're competing against. So my big wish here is that they'll at the very least be willing to reevaluate perks and make adjustments as the year goes on. Which, speaking of post-launch support, this is another area where I hope we see some big improvements from Black Ops 6. And the first part of this is just getting on top of bugs far better than they have been in Black Ops 6. There are still consistent bugs that have been present since the launch of the game, or at least have been present for multiple seasons, like the Dreadnought bug. That's still there. That's been there since launch. There's also still persistent loadout bugs where people are spawning in with a different loadout from what they selected and what they built. Crossplay options, they're still resetting for people, and you have to use a workaround just to get a simple setting to save and work properly in the game. Just a bunch of little things like that really add up to creating a frustrating experience that doesn't feel polished. And so my big wish here is that they'll stay on top of these so much more effectively. Now, post-launch support isn't just about fixing bugs, it's also about content additions. And I know I've beaten this topic to death throughout the year since Modern Warfare 3 set the bar so high, but man, I would love to see the return of an aftermarket parts style system or weapon mods that are actually coming on a consistent basis that you unlock via weekly challenges, so you've got a new gameplay item almost every single week to play with and experiment with, which would really help keep things a lot more fresh and exciting. And I think that's a big area where Black Ops 6 has fallen down, largely because, like I said, Modern Warfare 3 set that bar really high, so it felt like a really big step back coming into Black Ops 6. Now, on a bit of a related note here, one of the biggest issues in recent years with Call of Duty that totally kills the momentum for the game, even if it starts off really strong like Black Ops 6 did, this is the holiday lull, where it appears most of the developers are off on holiday throughout the Christmas season for like an entire month. At least that's what it feels like from a player's perspective. And during that time, basically nothing gets done with the game. Any issues that exist when that holiday lull happens, well, you're stuck with them for the next month. Also, the next major update, it's likely going to get delayed by a few weeks. So you've really got nothing to look forward to, and this completely kills the momentum for the game, and this is where the community totally flipped around and went from generally heavy praise for the game to suddenly, this is the worst game of all time. So I don't know what it is that they need to do to prevent this. At the very least, I think some consistent content releases throughout that period, if they have them all scheduled, that would at least alleviate the issue to a degree. But this is a big picture issue with the franchise that I think absolutely needs to be addressed, and I'm going to put it on my wish list here for Black Ops 7. Now, getting into the next one, this one is always a controversial topic, and I know many of you guys know my stance on this already. With us going from Black Ops 6 into Black Ops 7, there is a big question of whether we're going to be getting content carry forward like we did going from Modern Warfare 2 to Modern Warfare 3. And for me, on my wish list, I hope character skins don't carry forward from Black Ops 6. I'd be totally fine with the weapons carrying forward, as long as it doesn't hold back their ability to make the gunsmith system that they want to make for Black Ops 7 in order to accommodate the Black Ops 6 weapons. But for me, I really prefer when a Call of Duty game has its own unique artistic direction and aesthetic and feel. I don't want to see the same crazy skins that I've been looking at for the past year suddenly in a brand new game that I just paid full price for day one. I don't want to see Ninja Turtles or Stoner Lizards or human shark hybrids day one in Black Ops 7 in multiplayer. I get it, for the people that have spent money on those bundles, they want their money to go as far as possible, they want it to stretch out, they want their bundles to carry forward. But in my eyes, it's a brand new game, and I want them to start fresh, at least aesthetically, and I want it to have its own unique tone and feel from day one. And then going forward from that, I would love to see them keep things at least a bit more grounded in reality when it comes to gameplay aesthetics, at least for the early period of the game. I totally get that Call of Duty is not a full-on mil sim. I don't think everything needs to be 100% realistic and only military uniforms allowed or anything. But at the very least, I'd love to keep things reasonably grounded and human for the first few seasons of the game before things start getting more wacky. Obviously, this is just my wish list and opinion, and I know that is fairly controversial with a lot of people, but that is something I'm hoping for with Black Ops 7. After that, getting back into a specific gameplay element here, I'm hoping with Black Ops 7 they keep the streak system a little bit more simple, with streaks being easier to earn again, or at least easier than Black Ops 6 by default, without having to stack several perks together in order to earn streaks effectively again. And I think the best way they could do this is simply bump up the objective score rewards a little bit more, because that would help in a couple ways. First off, it would make streaks more attainable, and second, it would encourage more objective play. Like, I look back to Black Ops 2 and getting a capture kill where you're on a contested flag or an enemy's flag and you get a kill. If I remember correctly, you got 200 score toward your streak for that one kill. And I think that's totally fair because you're putting yourself on a contested objective and taking a gunfight at the same time. That's a high-risk situation, you're playing the objective, and you should be rewarded heavily for that. And we just don't see that in Black Ops 6. Also, like I mentioned, when it comes to perks, I think there should only be like one perk that contributes to earning streaks more effectively, like a hardline style perk. I'm cool with that. I don't think there should be multiple perks though that you have to stack together to get those streaks effectively. As for the next gameplay related item on my wish list here, this is tac stance. I would love tac stance to be just default again, like it was in Modern Warfare 3. I don't think you should have to use an attachment like the tactical laser in Black Ops 6. I don't think the mechanic is inherently unbalanced without having to use an attachment in order to activate it. And I think it just offers a nice alternative layer to the gameplay experience that you can use if you choose without being forced to use up one of your attachment slots to gain that power. Now, if you want to get a really good tac stance build, sure, you should have to use attachments to improve it, but I think the mechanic itself shouldn't be locked behind an attachment. And speaking of attachments, kind of circling back to Gunsmith a little bit, compared to Black Ops 6, I would like to see a little bit more freedom with attachments, especially with the ability to stack multiple attachments from different categories to improve one particular stat, which is something you generally can't do in Black Ops 6 outside of a few rare exceptions. And I know, coming off of Modern Warfare 3, I was saying the opposite. I was saying I wanted things to be more simple. And it's not that I've changed my opinion on this at all. I just think there's a middle ground to be found there. I think Modern Warfare 3 had a bit too much complexity, far too many attachment choices to choose from that were way too similar to each other. Whereas Black Ops 6 ended up going too far in the other direction, in my opinion, where it was just too basic, and I just felt there wasn't enough freedom to create interesting builds with Black Ops 6, and that's largely due to the fact that you couldn't stack multiple attachments to help with one particular stat. Like, you couldn't make a really good hipfire build, for instance, because there's only one attachment slot that allows you to improve your hipfire with most of the guns in the game. So I think there is that Goldilocks zone between Modern Warfare 3 and Black Ops 6's Gunsmith, and I'd really like to see them nail that in Black Ops 7. But of course, time will tell on that. And with that, that's going to wrap it up for my wish list. Those are the main things that came to mind, at least while I was creating this list. I'm sure there's a bunch of other little things that I could have added to this list, and maybe I will expand on this in the future a bit with some dedicated videos. But those are some of the main things that I want to see, and this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. What are some of the main things on your Black Ops 7 wish list? Are they some of the things that I mentioned in today's video, or maybe something totally different? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.